Welcome back. I'm talking to Gary Heseltine, who is a recently retired police detective. Now then, Gary, last time you were on Richplanet, we spoke at length about Nick Pope and your attitude towards comments that he had made in the Sun newspaper about the Exopolitics conference. Now, fairly recently, he wrote, what was it, a 6-page...
Oh, no, it was an 8-page pullout.
8-page pullout in the Sun newspaper, all about the UFO subject. For me, it almost pains me to say this, it was a reasonably positive article, which just demonstrates the schizophrenia towards this subject in the mainstream media. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think, yeah, it's, I mean, for something in the mainstream media that is largely still ridiculed, when you have an 8-page pullout, which obviously has cost implications, pages printed off, ink, etc., and doing it in Britain's leading, most popular newspaper, then that's a major piece. And like you say, it was on the whole very pro ET, and that there's something to this subject. The problem that you have with Nick is that as a ufologist who does believe that a small proportion of UFO sightings are ET, Nick has been in a position so many times where on live television, which the majority of ufologists never get live TV. He has been on TV so many times, live TV, where he's been asked the question, do you believe in UFOs? And he has always, and steadfastly on mainstream TV, always said no, or I don't know, or he's never given any kind of positive. And over the years he writes positive things, negative things. You know, when we're talking about what we talked about last programme, he'd done a bit and say we're the activist department, you know, which I took exception to.
He could have quite easily, from
with the militant wing of ufology, which was ridiculous things.
He could have taken various speakers' information from that Exopolitics conference and written a very similar article.
Absolutely.
In a positive light, the way that he did. So why this sudden change? Why? What's going on here? Because to me, it does not make sense at all. Is he trying to get back in with the British UFO field, or what? Well,
I think it'd be fair to say that he did damage his reputation when he admitted that he'd made kind of bogus comments about trying to promote, I think, a computer game, which he'd put out initially as mainstream news, and then it turned out later on that he was really just promoting a game. I think. Well,
that's what was said. This is the comment. The very big article in the Mail Online, I think it was, where he was saying that
about the Olympics,
that there's going to be an alien invasion. Or
scenario,
and that there were energy weapons being prepared to defend against a possible alien invasion, and then the cover was that, oh, I was just wanting to promote a video game.
Well, I suppose that in the end, it's for Nick to do what he does. I mean, he has a media career, and he does it the way he wants to do it. All I can say is that, from my point of view, that if you believe in UFOs and that some are ET, then I don't think I could ever change that opinion, whether I'm on TV, radio, or whatever. I would have to wear my heart on my sleeve. Unfortunately for Nick, maybe for financial reasons, purely to stay, not nail his colours to the mast, he operates in a way that I couldn't operate, and therefore he appeals to both sides, pro and negative side of the subject. But I couldn't operate that. But here's one of the ironies. I've come across an article, I think he did in 1996 in the old UFO magazine, when he first really got started, and he says he believed that UFOs were ET. Now, he's never said that on national TV, and I find that very odd.
Okay, well, I think we've spoken enough about Nick Pope for one day, Gary. Right now, you are using this opportunity of retirement to launch a new magazine, which I'm very excited about, because we did have UFO Matrix, and I think that's sort of, I'm not even sure if that's still going, but this is going to be an online magazine called UFO Truth Magazine. Just tell us about it, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, I came up with the idea in August 2012. I knew by then that I was planning on retiring. Wasn't sure exactly what date it would be, but it would be sometime in 2013. And it was as I was about to attend the EXO conference in Liverpool, the 2012 EXO conference in Liverpool. I used the opportunity to put my idea to some of the speakers that were there, and the basic idea is that technology has moved a great deal in the sense that of whilst it is very nice to have a magazine, of course it is, but with all the ancillary costs
just
of
hold
producing.
that up to the camera, Gary, so the camera
Right,
can see it.
this
Yeah.
is actually an Italian publication,
Right.
put out by Roberto Pinotti. But what I'm saying is, yes, it is nice to have a printed magazine, of course it is, but there's huge costs with printing. But the technology has changed in the sense that people did not used to like reading off a computer screen, scrolling down or whatever. But now with e-readers, Kindle, Kobo, people regularly read on their iPhones, their iPads, etc. People are now happy to read in an online format. So really, your production costs in terms of print aren't necessary. So my idea was to produce an 84-page bi-monthly colour glossy magazine that will look just like that. It will look everything just the same, but it will be in an online and you can read it on your Kindle, your Kobo, etc. And that will be called UFO Truth Magazine.
Okay. Well, that's going to cost £4 per issue or £20 for a 6-month subscription.
Yeah, six issues for the price of 4. Yeah.
And you're intending to bring that out, what, at the end of June for the first issue?
Well, what's going to happen is that in the mid-April, we're having the launch of the website for the magazine, which will then promote, and hopefully by getting on various shows it will announce to the public that there'll be a media campaign to its launch, and the first issue, which will be free, the first issue will go out, will be the May-June issue, and we'll see where we go from there.
Right. So 84 pages, as you said, which is, you know, quite a hefty magazine. Now you've got Anthony Beckett, who's involved with that with you, Gary. Just tell us what he's going to do.
Well, I have a close association with Anthony over the last 3 years because he's been putting the EXO conferences together in the UK, and he's done a fantastic job. But I mentioned this to him in August and said, look, I want to do a magazine, what do you think? And he thought it was a great idea. And the beauty with Anthony is he's a web designer, so I said, look, would you come up with the magazine website? And he said, yeah, I'd love to get involved in that. So basically it's a tie-up between the two of us. He will run the website for the magazine. Obviously I will have input onto that, but he will effectively look after the design and put that out, and I will edit the magazine. Now the beauty of the magazine is that over the last few months I've been approaching people I respect in the UFO field, various researchers from around the world, to see if they will get on board as columnists for the magazine. And the idea is I want to make it of an international appeal. So I've now got the likes of AJ Javard from Brazil, who does a Brazilian UFO magazine, so he's going to talk about South America. I've got people now in Australia who are going to contribute, New Zealand, exopolitics groups in Denmark, yeah, Pia Knudsen and Kristen Norman in Norway. We're going to feature people like, I recently went to Brazil and met with a lieutenant colonel called Julio Chamorro. Now he's a Brazilian military official. He's going to become a regular contributor, so that's Peru covered, you know. And obviously there'll be a heavy influx of people. Peter Robbins from America is going to be regular. We're going to have guest columnists by the likes of Robert Sellers, Richard Dolan, Grant Cameron, people like that. Yourself, you know, you're going to contribute when you can be asked to write.
Gary's asked me to write 1,000 words every 2 months. Every 2 months,
and he's saying that's going to be difficult. But I didn't realise you were illiterate. But yeah, basically, but there is a main premise of this. These are people who I respect, who have stood the test of time in my eyes as bona fide researchers. The key thing with this magazine that's going to be different from any other magazine, as far as I can see, is one, that I am saying right from the off, this is a magazine for people who believe that some UFOs represent ET contact, that they are visiting the Earth now, that flying saucers are real to intents and purposes. So there's no sitting on the fence. As you know, I've always said this, and this is now an opportunity where I can do it in a more positive way. This is a magazine for UFO believers, that people who believe that ETs are coming to this Earth now. So that's that. There will be a mission statement in that first magazine to that effect. But here's the big difference with my magazine to any others. I want to promote a magazine that self-funds British ufology, that gives us a self-sustaining platform to put on conferences, get venues, speakers, etc. And the reason and how that is done is via the mechanism of having a third of all monies raised. Right. A third of all monies raised will be put aside for UFO projects. Right. Primarily, initially, to secure funding for UK conferences, but as time and as the magazine hopefully grows, if you can imagine a scenario where you had 5,000 subscribers worldwide, then that would generate £100,000. Right. Yeah. Right now, of that, if I'm guaranteeing a third of it will be put to one side for projects, that's £33,000. Now that's going to give us some funding so we can get decent venues, get speakers, pay for costs, etc., and maybe do a travelling roadshow, various things. In time, what I'd like to be also do is to use it a bit like a bank, in the sense that if there's a forensic test needs doing on an animal mutilation case in America and MUFON haven't got the money to do it, then they can approach me and I can make a contribution out of that fund. So it's for the benefit of the subject. I'm not doing it to make loads of money myself, it's to get ufology on the map. And
you're keeping the denialists out of this magazine. I don't even call them debunkers, I call them denialists, because they will deny any evidence regardless of what that evidence is. And my authors that write in some other publications.
Right. What I will say on that is that I've now been an active researcher for now into my 11th year. Now, what I noticed over the years is that most magazines don't really wear the heart on the sleeve. They want to appeal to a wider audience, and that's fine. They say, well, you believe what you want to believe. But for me, this has always been about that in a proportion of the best cases, the evidence is really there. You're just not showing it, and I will be bringing you the best stuff from around the world that says there is a circumstantial evidence that points towards ET. Now, in light of that, I'm not opposed to debate, I'm not opposed to skepticism, but it has to be based on not just a whim, it has to be based on genuine points. And unfortunately with skeptics, a lot of skeptics talk a lot but they don't actually say a lot in hard facts. So fine, I will allow people to write for the magazine if they've got something genuine to say, but it has to be of a proper debate.
Yeah. Now you mentioned funding conferences, Gary. The Exopolitics conference won't be taking place this year, that many Richplanet viewers have attended over the last few years. We had 2 in Leeds and then 1 in Liverpool this 2012. You think that you may put a conference on linked to UFO Truth Magazine, which will possibly replace the Exopolitics conference? Well,
I don't know if it will replace the title Exopolitics per se, because that is something that Anthony Beckett has a dedicated website to, and as you know, the Exopolitics title is pretty much worldwide now in terms of a kind of a brand name in around various countries. And I'm not saying that we take over that, but what I'm saying is that I've discussed it with Anthony, and then conferences are a huge financial I wouldn't say burdens, not the right word, but they are very expensive to produce, and especially when you're getting speakers flying in from around the world. Now, what I would say is that it all being well, and we have discussed it, that if the magazine at this stage, as we obviously try to put everything into building it over the next 12 months, that we will probably go down the line of a 1, possibly 2 day, but probably I think a 1 long Saturday or a Sunday, probably a Saturday, perhaps October, maybe November later on in 2013. Right. Probably in Leeds, but maybe another venue. But the idea is that we'll be up and running by then. It will be generating some cash, which will hopefully fund us venue and whatever. So basically the idea of having the website is that it's going to be self-generating, right, in the sense that we'll probably put some podcasts out there, maybe put out a weekly or every 2 weeks put a little podcast out there, what's in the next issue, maybe have the odd speaker or two to have a little chat with, but we'll be promoting this heavily, that if this does come out, that there will be a conference. Right. So
and the domain name is UFOTruthMagazine.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right then, Gary. Well, we'll be talking more about British ufology after this.